Greetings and salutations from central Louisiana, just a few miles west of Dry Prong. Today's project has been working on getting the clutch disc and the clutch plate in and putting the pilot plate there in, and all three have been accomplished, and the clips come to follow. Alright, here it is. I have pressed on this bearing, throwout bearing right here. I'm going to take this grease fitting off the top, make sure this tube is clear. Probably should have done it before I went to all this, but I've cleaned it up fairly well and pressed the bearing, throwout bearing on, and this piece is basically ready to go back on the tractor. So, easier task than what I guess I thought. Okay, somebody said I should have showed y'all the action, but basically what I did was I put a little oil on the receiver there and I some on the outside of the bearing, and it just slid basically in. I had a couple of light taps with a hammer and a punch, and she's seated firmly. A little oil on the inside and a little steel wool over here to clean up this end of the pilot bearing, this shaft, and put a little oil on it, kind of treat it just a little bit. It's got a little rust on it there from time and corrosion and a little condensation, so we'll clean it all up, and then I'll put the pull the yoke down and put the throwout bearing back on this one, and then we will be moving forward again. Okay, I've got the throwout bearing and the assembly back on the shaft here. I had to reach around and get the lever out here to rotate the yoke forward to catch it. There's just a little short range in there, but it actually works, because come off too far it jumps off. But there it is. I often wonder why this grease tube's so far back in the opening, but heaven forbid for me to second guess IH engineers. I guess they figured somebody pressed down the clutch so you can get to the throwout bearing to grease it. Anyway, it's on. I have got the clutch disc ready. I've got the alignment tool in there to keep it centered in the opening, and I've got the pressure plate to go on. So here we go. Okay, looking at various things, but I noticed this pressure plate was struggling to slide into the slot, and the measure's right from this edge to both sides, but this edge right here is trailing edge. This is a piece of stamped steel. If you notice, there is a definite line there. It's wider diameter wise on the back side than it is on the front side here. Now some people might say, well, they just got the plate flipped upside down when they assembled it, but I ain't disassembling it to switch plates, so I'm taking this ridge down. That may be wrong, but that's what I'm doing. Okay, pressure plate's going on. That was the trick. I had to relieve that little lip from the manufacturing process. I have a feeling that that plate was marginal at the factory, and they said, yep, push it on through. After a few minutes with me slowly taking that edge off on the disc sander, I got a nice polished edge, and it dropped right in like it's supposed to. So we are at this point, I'm tightening the bolts down, and somebody say, you're just about ready to roll her back together, and that is true. It'll be a while though, because I'm sweating like a pig. All right, in preparation to put the two halves back together again, I leveled it to this rail right here. This is level. Now it means I'll have to adjust the backside up and down to get it close to being the same, and then when we put it together we'll have to make micro adjustments in order to get the two ends to line up. You know, they don't have to be perfectly level, but they got to be in the same plane to bring them together. But I think that's going to be another day's project, and one I lean on Chris to help me finish. But I do have the throwout bearing in, which is good, and a new clutch disc and pressure plate. And I found this, and I got to research this grease fitting here on the flywheel. I need to learn to focus this closer to where it needs to be. This grease fitting on the flywheel, the only way I can see that you can access that to grease anything is through this hole right here in the bell housing. There's a hole right there, and then of course there's an access plate there. I guess you take the access plate off and pull that so you can work your way up in here and get that hose up in grease line up to where you can grease that fitting. But I think I'll grease it a little bit before I put it back together. Do a little research on that. So that is it today from central Louisiana, just a few miles west of Dry Farm. I'm dripping in sweat and probably worked harder than I should. So good day and have a prosperous and beneficial day.